that you share. What are some of the things that get you excited and give you energy? And,
I'll try and make a long story short. After 2 careers that I enjoyed, I went to baking school. And I have people coming to me asking those last 2 questions. How do you do that? Yeah. People say, I can't make bread, how do you do it? And then
And what's your response?
It's easy for me, but I'll show you how to do it.
Okay.
And I've got to the point where I have 2 award-winning bread recipes. Just out of my brain. And that is a talent, that's a passion that I discovered when I was 55, 54 years old.
Your name?
Mark.
Mark. I'm going to just share one thing. So what you just shared, I am going to encourage everybody to do, which is when people say to you, how do you do what you do? To actually spend time to find out what is the foundation of that question. Because there is a gift in there. There is a moment of grace in that when people affirm you or they say to you, gosh, you're good at that. How do you do that? That is, in my mind, a way that we are being affirmed in God's grace. And I know Carol will share this tomorrow, but one of the things we encourage people to do is ask the question. What is it that you're getting? Where's the effectiveness? Because talent should be, the effect of the talent should be resulting in big stuff, and that's what people are seeing. And that's where you go, okay, this is good, this is the right path. You had your hand up too. What were you going to say?
Yeah, I gave a series of presentations on the math to some elementary kids. Yeah. And afterwards I was approached by a lot of the adults about if I would do something for them.
Oh my gosh, so did you all hear that? So he's doing, class for the kids and the parents. So there's something going on there. There's a talent that people are seeing and they're getting and they're appreciating. That's awesome. That's awesome. These are the things, the stuff. And now the thing is, we say to ourselves, well, how much of our day is spent up in those types of activities? I was talking to, in fact, I was working with a manager back at that company that I'm not mentioning. And he was sharing that he used to be a sales guy. He was a sales engineer. And his big thing was being out with the customer. He loved being out with the customer. It gave him energy. He just, his days would fly by. And he was so good at it, and guess what they did?
Promoted him.
They promoted him.
It's the Peter principle.
Behind the desk doing reports, handling complaints. His life was being sucked dry. And he says, you know what those moments of my day are? Is when a sales guy will call me up and go, hey, will you go on a call with me? He's like, yeah. And that's what we're, and so his aha was, wow, I gave up the stuff I really, really loved, where I had talent, where I felt good, where the day passed by, and now I'm stuck. That's really, again, being able to say no. And good stuff. This is a little bit of that science I was talking to you about. We're talking about science and spirit, all of it. The human brain, the way we're wired, happens, and it creates this lens that we look through. Being clear about that lens and making that lens clear is important as part of this journey. So, as I mentioned, Gallup did their research. They came out with these 34 themes of talent. When you take it, and again, you can buy the book. You can buy it anywhere. It's called Living Your Strengths, and the code's in the book, and you go online, and it takes you about 40 minutes, and some of you are shaking your head. How many have taken this and know their top 5? Okay, perfect, because we'll quiz you in a little bit. You can't see your 34. You could if you wanted to pay lots of money, but that's not the point. The point is you want to know your top 5, because that's where you want to focus your time and energy. Once you know what the talents are, then you can start to figure out ways in which to grow and develop them. These are your areas of greatest potential for strength. And so here are just to give you some of the words. So you're looking at some of the 34 themes right now, like achiever, an activator, and adaptability. I'm just kind of curious, how many people here make lists? Okay, how many of you check them off when you're done? Look at all these hands. How many of you, those of you that have your hands raised, how many of you, if you do something that's not on your list, what do you do? By the way, that's an achiever. Seriously, not everyone has that thing, but it's easy to kind of think in your mind, well, who wouldn't do that? Who would make lists? I mean, how could you manage your life if you don't make lists? So activator, which I love, is, anybody a patient in here? The ready, fire, aim people? That's me. Yeah, so, yeah, activator is about impatience. Each of these have a description of what they mean. And really, once you understand that, it gives much more context to why you do the things you do. As I mentioned earlier, I have the first theme, Maximizer, which is interesting because it's about excellence. It's about seeing excellence, which is why I don't watch football or baseball until the World Series or the Super Bowl. Because you know what? It's all just a bunch of, yeah. Who cares until you get to the excellence? The people who have fought their way and gotten to the best. And that for me is the exciting part. Drives my husband crazy. Anybody walk in this room and just see a whole bunch of friends they're anxious to meet? No, that's our woo. Our winning others over. But what is great about this is it gives language to something that is otherwise very hard to talk about. One of the beauties I have found, especially in our parish settings, when we rolled this out, we rolled it out to anyone and everyone that wanted to learn more about their living talents. And I would say we had a lot of people. We sold 200 books over the first weekend. And we're a small parish out there in Byron, if anyone knows Byron. But what was interesting is that once people had language, and it isn't about labels. It isn't about labels, but it's about understanding and then letting go of judgment. Because let me tell you, for those achievers in here, I absolutely adore you because it's like my 33rd. I have all kinds of great ideas, but getting it done and actually driving to finishing something, you know, and so you start to realize while we might have all of these in some rank order, these top 5 are the keys. The other thing to realize is that when you start to think about the equation, the odds of meeting people like yourself, once you know what your top 5 are, I mean, this is simple math, but it's statistics, but you have 1 in 275,000 chance of ever meeting somebody with your top 5 in random order. And only once did that ever happen to me, and I was doing a workshop for a large parish, and these 2 people jumped out of their seat and said, we found out at the break we have the same 5 in random order. And they had spent the whole break talking to each other, just falling in love. They just couldn't believe, you know, how similar their outlook on life was. But the interesting thing is there's 1 in 33 million chance you're ever going to meet somebody with your top 5 in the same order. If you really want to get crazy about this, it's 1 in 40 trillion meeting somebody with your top 10 in the same order. So if you think about it from the beginning of time to the end of time, you are not going to meet somebody just like you, who looks at the world like you do, which for me was very freeing because I always wondered, why isn't I look at stuff like this and nobody quite sees it the way I do? When I used to use Myers-Briggs, I did Myers-Briggs training for many years, there was a great book that they published entitled, I'm Not Crazy, I'm Just Not You. And I thought because that's how I felt for years, that there must be something wrong if I don't see it the way other people do, but the truth is, we all need each other, and you are uniquely created. That's the wonderful thing, and when people walk away from these workshops that we will have, this is the thing that they will say more often than not. I didn't know until I came through this how unique I really am. And it's an amazing thing. The other thing that in a recent book that Gallup came out with, which has been very helpful for our teams and our ministries and our councils, is something that came out from Gallup recently called Strengths-Based Leadership, where you take the 34 themes and you look at them through 4 domains of leadership. So they've actually taken them put them into these domains of executing, influencing, relationship building, and strategic thinking, this has been huge for us. Because not only now do we appreciate each other's top 5, but we also appreciate the focus that each of us has. So the executing themes, which are over here, are the people who actually are the themes that get things done. Love them, I have none of them. These are the achievers, the arrangers, the deliberative, the disciplines, the people who actually get the work done. You have the influencing themes, which are the people, or the themes, I'd say people because I always think of people as I'm seeing things, but they're the ones who get people excited about whatever's going on. So I have a friend, she has Woo. She also has communication. And at St. Anne, when we've got a big thing going on, I'll go get Fran, and I'll say, Fran, here's what we're doing, go get people excited about it. Next thing you know, droves of people are coming up to me going, Fran just told me about this thing we're doing. She didn't know any of the details, but she said to come see you, and I want to be involved. And so I say, okay, that's Fran. She's good to know who your influencers are. Relationship are the themes that hold teams together. I had a manager once say to me, I was so depressed after I took this because I had all relationship things. She said it felt so mushy. Well, then I actually had another woman who had all of the executing things, and she came in and we made little placards like this, and she had her placards towards her body because she didn't want anybody to see them. I said, why, can I see what your top 5 are? And she goes, no, I don't want to show you. I said, how come? She said, because they make me sound like I'm a jerk. I promise you, by the time you leave, you're going to not only appreciate them, but you're going to own them, and she did. The thing is, we need all of them. And the relationship things are amazing because they are the thing that keeps everybody moving together. And the last one are your strategic thinking themes, which are the big picture thinkers. They're the ones who bring in lots of information and then can put the pieces together. So in our council, the Engagement and Stewardship Council, one of the things that we learned early on was that we had a whole bunch of people who had strategic thinking was great because we're launching all these initiatives. What we needed to do was then figure out how we were going to get the message out, how we were going to get the people involved, and then how we were going to get the work done. So for us, being able to then look at it this way as we look at talent, where does your talent lie? What do you maybe have as a domain or a lens that you look through how these talents can play out? So that it's not about plugging people into volunteering in different areas. It's about carefully looking at their themes and saying, where will you play best? How can we really leverage your talent? We had a woman come into the parish, so now we do Living Your Strengths quite a bit, and she took the assessment and she sat down with one of our coaches. We have 4 coaches that do this. And she was a senior vice president for a startup company, and here she is now at our parish, and she sits down with the coach, and she says, before you start this coaching thing, I just want you to know I'm not picking up chairs at the end of the events. That's what she wanted me to do, because she thought this was a guise, and we were recruiting volunteers. So she was a little skeptical. And I said, no, we won't make you pick up chairs. But what we will do is we'll put you in our council, and you're going to help us drive this vision. That's what we're going to do. So again, it just comes back to everything we are is grace. It's gift and grace, and important. So what we've learned through our process is you give people to do what they do best, whether it's strategic thinking and putting the pieces together, relationship building, getting people excited, or just getting the job done. So being able to provide that for people. Every ministry needs every talent. So some people will say, well, can I map a ministry to certain talents? No, because every ministry, hospitality needs all of these. Now you might say relationship things are important, I would agree, but you also need to be organizers and you need the people that get stuff done. Because otherwise it'll be just a bunch of donuts. So you gotta figure out how the talents all can orchestrate. I always say, ministry leaders are like conductors of finely tuned orchestras. You gotta know who your harp, your violin section is, your percussion. You need to know that so you can masterfully orchestrate your ministry. So that's what we've done. We've done this with our confirmation kids. They love it. It's, in fact, a lot of times the parents go on these retreats. The kids are taking the assessment. We always have the parents do it as well. We pair them up. They talk to each other. And I had a parent say to me, "That's the first mature adult conversation I've had with my child, and I walked away knowing him better than I ever have." It has provided, again, a dialogue and a language. We do a Lenten retreat on this every year, and it's where kind of our launching off point is. That's where our small groups start. So again, lots of different ways in which to do this. The idea is that you want to build it and give it strength. I'm realizing on time, and I wanted to show you the video. Are you interested in the video? Just to see what other parishes are doing. And again, these are all individuals who are leaders from the Archdiocese of Seattle. And I would love to play this for you. I would just love to play it for you. Trust me, I do. Okay, here we go. Yeah, I really do.
Is there good music with it?
Oh, yeah, I wish.
We have really strong leadership from our pastor, who has embraced this long before any of us heard about it. And secondly, we have good diocesan support, and that has made a huge difference.
Strengths Engaged Church through our stewardship days here in the Archdiocese about 2 years ago, and we have a wonderful stewardship development team for the Archdiocese, and some of the feedback that we had been giving them over the years was how to develop the talent and time aspect of time, talent, and treasure around stewardship.
Talked quite a bit about it. The staff had a retreat day. We also had a retreat day with our parish council. But then we were so excited to get our entire community embracing and engaged in strengths that we've offered group sessions. We have workshops this fall starting. So it has been a remarkable, life-giving tool that it is that journey.
We did, and it came from the pastor. He began talking about it as part of his homilies, or part of he got people to give mission statements about it, and we really had a good build-up to the first. We did a workshop, and we're fortunate enough to have both Monsignor Bill and Lisa there.
The leaders of the parish came to a meeting at the Archdiocese 2 years ago on stewardship days and got very energized about the process, and then they sent one of our, well, actually the pastor and 2 staff people went to coaches training, and then the parish decided to create a position in the parish, a pastoral assistant for stewardship that would have responsibility for growing the engaged church and developing living your strengths in the parish.
I love seeing the aha moments of the people who attend these 4 sessions that we have.
On a personal level, would be a greater reassurance of my own gifts and what I do, to be able to say, you know, that's a gift from God, and to be able to own it as a gift and not my own doing. So it really kind of frees me up to say, well, this is who I am, and you know, and I'm grateful for that. And then in terms of my vocation, it's helped me to realize that it's really God's work, and the more I can be in tune with what God desires for me, the more joy I experience, the more freedom I find in my own life, the greater enthusiasm, and the desire to invite other people into that journey, so that they can experience God's presence in their lives.
I asked them the very first day, what do you do in your life to fill you up? And one of them started crying. and said, this? And that she hadn't done anything in 7 or 8 years for herself. That it had all been centered around her family. And I was just sitting there trying not to look blown away, because I was totally blown away.
I had been working with parish leaders for 12 years and had told them over and over again that the Spirit had gifted our parish with all the gifts. It was up to us to be scouts and recruiters, but that this was an actual hands-on way for people to really bring out their untapped talents.
The application within families and in the beyond just our community, and that people then that have been coming to the group sessions. We've had about 130 now, 15 group sessions, and the people that are coming, they're saying, this is the first time I've really started to get involved in some cases, and to just realize that this is another opportunity, just like so many of the tools we have to continue our faith journey, to make it be that lifelong journey.
We're offering these, but we're offering this so that our commissions and our teams and all the things that we have in our volunteers to work as a team. So we're developing to know each other's gifts as well as our own.
Being able to have people be affirmed in their valued in their talents that they have, and that was the key piece of really getting people involved, was to be able to say, this is something God has already given you. It's not like I have a need for you to help me with something. I'm looking for volunteers, catechists. Instead, I can say, you have this communication skill, and you have empathy. You could be a real asset.
Because this is a marathon. We are inviting people to a lifetime experience of being able to embrace and live fully into these God-given talents and grow them into strengths. And that it truly, a person could be busy about this the whole rest of their lives.
People are energized as they become more aware of their talents. I've seen people actually change jobs. I've seen families become more connected. It's been an amazing process, and I know it's a process that's going to actually take years to develop.
And we encourage. So it's such a gift to hear what they have to say. So I know we are summarizing. I did want to just restate one thing that Father Bill shared, and encourage all of you, if you are interested, because it's right there on the prayer that you read earlier, which is we, 4 of us, actually 5 of us, have created been part of an online community called Catholic Strengths and Engagement. And the website is there at the bottom of your page. And the reason we did this is because our 4 parishes, St. George, Magella, St. Anne, Don Garbison with St. Matthew's, and Lisa Angslinger, who you may have heard of, have all individually been working at this for the last number of years, have heard of each other, finally all came together and said, what can we do to help bring some way of sharing best practices and what other parishes are doing? And so this online community, which is part of Faith Interactive, Brian Foley is our technical wizard, put this online community together that allows you to go on and share. And the amount of sharing that is going on is phenomenal. The amount of documents that are left there in the library, the things that people are doing, these testimonials, and these small group processes, and all of these things, it's all on there. People are sharing so generously, and it's just as a resource to keep the conversation going, because we believe, and our mission is that it really does help to transform the way people experience their faith communities through this lens of talent. And so these are the founders of CSEC, as we call it. We were concerned that might be seen as seasickness. It's not. It's CSEC. But what was interesting to us is when we started to ask the question, we uncovered over 200 parishes. And again, just a drop in the bucket, but 200 parishes and dioceses, they're in some way doing something with this, with strengths in their parishes, seeing it as a very positive thing that they're doing. So that just gives you a look at what the site looks like. Lots of blogs going on, lots of networking going on, lots of sharing and discussions. So with that, I guess I would leave you with the challenge that if, my belief is that if we can really infuse and energize our faith communities through the ideas of helping people absolutely uncover and live out their God-given talents and really uncover their call, what a wonderful world this will be. And so thank you as leaders of your parishes for being here, and hopefully this has helped take that next step further. Thank you.
Thanks, Stephanie. A couple of quick announcements. Please fill out your evaluation